to this special edition of Talk Time. My guest today is the Director General of the Assam Police, Mr. Bhaskar Jyoti Mahanta. Mr. Bhaskar Jyoti Mahanta, once again, welcome to Talk
Thank
Time.
you.
My first question, of course, is how has the battle against COVID been like for the Assam Police? It has already been 4 months now.
It's been a battle, all right. Actually, way back in the month of February itself, towards the end of February, the Guwahati City Police has located 3 persons, 2 from Wuhan and 1 from Shanghai. You remember those days, those were the places which were in news, and it has all started from Wuhan in China.
Right.
So we caught these Chinese nationals and we put them under our surveillance, and then, after quarantining them, got them dispatched. That's when we began learning the tips about COVID, and Assam Police officially, institutionally had studied the COVID trend all over the world. Basically, that's when we began to make preparation. Actually, that has really helped. Looking back now, I find that the way we prepared, I think it was one of the foremost states in the country which had prepared well in advance to face a situation of the kind that we are facing today, because we are hearing horror stories in Italy and a couple of other countries later.
No, but it's very interesting. You said that you have detained 2 Chinese nationals in Assam, is it?
That's right. Way back,
What were they doing here?
there were some representatives of business organizations like Oppo and Vivo and that kind of mobile companies, and they were based out of here in Guwahati. They are from Wuhan and Shanghai, way back around those days. Anyway, we could, because we had created a team, nodal officers we have appointed way back, and then we had taken special care and did do a lot of brainstorming about a possibility of infection of the police force in coming times.
Yeah.
So
That is interesting because nearly 800 of your men and women, 800 of your personnel have already tested COVID positive. Almost half of them have already recovered. What has your strategy been actually?
Actually, that's when we discussed way back, as I said, in the month of March. Then, if it happens, what do we do? So, ever since, we had brought out different kind of standard operating procedures, which have been a dynamic situation, and therefore our SOPs also have got keep changing, had got changing, and as we came towards the situation that it exists today, then the kind of new provisions that we have inserted in the SOPs, which we really disseminated to the lowest formations, and we went around, like we visited the district, the battalions, and had meetings on the web, physically to all of our officers, had gone all over and made them understand the nuances of COVID and what care that is to be taken. And police people have been very careful. They have been really, it has been ingrained into their minds about the kind of care. And Bombay has, especially Mumbai, had scared us a great deal, and we had wanted to take a special lesson from Mumbai learnings. Mumbai Commissioner of Police is my batchmate, Parambir. Pune Police Commissioner is also my batchmate, Venkatesham. And I had talked to them in details, how are you facing the situation? And way back, mind it, when they were facing it. And then we prepared our police that there will be a time coming, maybe in the month of July, August, when our police people will get, then we prepared way back. If our guys get infected in large numbers, how do we go about? Anyway, Honorable Health Minister has been absolutely helpful. I had requested him to dedicate a special police, special care center for police, and he accordingly had given about 125 beds in Khanapara COVID Care Center. And as our people began getting infected in numbers that is little that has made us little uncomfortable, we began making preparations ourselves for COVID care center within police establishment in case we need to take recourse to that. So accordingly, in
Now,
16 IR
this
battalion,
uh, right
we have
now this
set up
eight.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. The 800 of your personnel have been affected. Where are these people mostly from? Are the majority of them from Guwahati, in and around Guwahati, or they are spread out across the state?
823 number of police personnel were the total number of infection, out of which 444 have been cured and have been allowed to go home. Out of them, 425 of them have been quarantined at this moment in their respective homes. 30 of them
Right.
had rejoined in their duty. Most of these guys initially were the guys from police boys who were doing duty in different Kokrajhar, for example, Dhubri checking gates, when thousands and thousands of people had come over from outside in their different kinds of vehicles and all that. I had gone there myself to boost up their morale. And railway station duty has been a very tough call because total number that had come back to Assam during this period is more than 3 lakh. It's not a small number. And our people had to not only make the SOP, had to facilitate the coming, had to arrange all logistics also in the railway stations by physically standing there, the GRP guys, our police personnel from the battalions, from the districts. We have detailed them in a manner, senior officers, junior guys, everybody.
Right. So the pattern that has emerged from what you have said, Mr. Mahanta, is that, I was going to ask you this question, whether there is a definite trend, how are your people affected mostly? So what you were saying is that most of the people affected were those who were on duty at the border, where the people were coming in by road and the railway stations and so on. Is that the pattern?
Yeah, I would say that is the kind of pattern when it began right in the beginning. So it's about a month since the first few cases have been reported, and now suddenly there is a shoot up. And later what happens, without being very aware of having got infected, some of our people perhaps continue to live in a barrack situations. We have taken adequate care about the barracks. We have provided adequate number of masks, great numbers of sanitizers and whatever is required to be given have been given in ample quantity to everybody. So despite taking care, there are infrastructural bottlenecks. In the barrack situation, they have to sleep in a barrack. And it is possible that one guy infects the other guy. It can happen. So that's how it got spread to the other police guys also.
Now you see, the Assam police is a roughly about 70,000 strong force. My question is, what percentage of this force, what percentage of manpower has been used or is being used in specific COVID duties? Do you have some kind of a rough idea?
Well, frankly speaking, after I had done a review of the people in COVID duty, and I needed a backup force, all right, and accordingly I had continued meetings with my commandants, with SPs, with my senior formations, and then we had decided consciously to close whole lot of DG reserve companies, which were getting deployed all over the state, and without much of application of mine, I have found that they've been doing duty in a matter of routine. And so I closed a whole lot of DG reserve companies to their respective battalions in the first place. Then other ad hoc postings that I had done a review of all the ad hoc postings, whole lot of people were there without a formal order getting deployed here and there. We reviewed and closed whole lot of them to their respective locations so that we have a better force. In the name of NRC duties, whole lot of forces were there, not really doing NRC work at all. So we closed them. Now we have deployed them when we found that our guys needed rest. So we are using these reserve forces that we have kept with a lot of care.
Right. Now you see, before I go into some other issues and leave this COVID topic, my question to you, Mr. Bhaskar Jyoti Mahanta, now what have you drawn from the last 4 to 5 months of your intense battle against COVID? This is an extremely new role for the police all over the country, Assam police included. Now, as the police chief of Assam, does this thought cross your mind that you have to have a police unit trained? I will not use the term biological warfare, but trained in basic biological issues, like whether there is a pandemic kind of a situation, whether there is a chemical attack. Do you think you need to have a special squad in the Assam police? Are you already planning about it?
Yes, there has been a plan, especially in the fire and emergency services. There is a vehicle called hazmat, hazardous materials. We have
Yeah.
got a vehicle also already with a lot
Right.
of very modern equipments. Whole lot of people have been trained on possible biological and even nuclear scenario, like if there is a massive disaster of the kind that we are talking about,
Right.
then some people are already kind of CBRN, it is called, right from chemical and all possible disasters that can happen. Some people have been trained along with some police people, but it is just a beginning that has been made. It is not
But
a
who is training them? Who is
our
training them
people
actually? Because this.
are being trained on these basically at the ages of the NDMA, Disaster Management Authority, National Disaster Management Authority. Under their
Right.
ages, there are experts coming from different places, and especially our guys are going to Nagpur and a couple of other places, Mumbai and place, and some of them have been trained
So
all right, but then it is just a very baby step. It's a baby step that has been made and not a huge
but
stride at
very
all.
soon, can we expect some kind of a proper squad in Assam, within the Assam police soon?
If not in police, then in the emergency services, I'm sure
Right.
it will be thought about. Even in Assam police, our doctors are now being placed in service. They've been trained. We have got more than 270 nursing staff who have been specially trained. I've got videos of different kinds and
How many
have
doctors do you have in the Assam
we
police?
have presently 27 doctors in Assam police,
So
and
now do you now think that there is need to increase the medical personnel within the
we
Assam
do,
police?
we do. In fact, I have brought this to the notice of Honorable Health Minister as well, and he's been very kind. He said that he would actively help us in this regard, and some plan is perhaps afoot on this.
Right. Now you see, you have something. You have an app. You call it the COVID Sentinel. So can you describe to my viewers what is this app? How does it work? What is this COVID Sentinel all about?
Actually, Honorable Chief Minister Assam and Honorable Health Minister, they desired that uh, uh, the police, Assam police should monitor the home quarantinees. The whole lot of people have been, especially only in Guwahati city,
Right.
home quarantine, monitoring the home quarantine, because right in the beginning, even now, whole lot of people just don't understand the logic of home quarantine. In Guwahati city, we have a system of giving socio-psychological succor to the people in home quarantine in Guwahati city, and Assam
Okay.
police very actively monitors it by enlisting the services of some volunteers. And these volunteers are very high quality teachers, professors, even some of the IIT students who have come here who were home quarantine, and they were very impressed with our activity, and they said they volunteered to help us. And all these people under home quarantine are being called twice by these volunteers. There are at this
Okay.
moment 237 volunteers all over the state of Assam. They do not belong to Guwahati. They belong to their in their respective places. I haven't seen their faces. I've done a couple of video conferencing on web, all right, but then
Right.
nor have we formally appointed them as such. We asked them to register on a particular portal. They have, and they have their respective mobile numbers. They call up these people under quarantine and find out, advise, give psychological support, and report to a group of IT experts that we have, about five to seven boys. They analyze all the feedbacks, and then on the finding, they send it to our coordinator, who is the DCP crime, Purkayastha.
Okay.
So he
Okay.
would in turn tell the respective officer in charge of the police stations in Guwahati city that in such and such house there is this problem, no food is being received, no medicine is there, the fellow is not feeling good, his swab report has not come, etc., etc., and so these people are helped that way. In addition, there is a geofencing app in their mobile phones. While removing the home quarantine or some of the suspect characters, we have put a geofencing app. If he gets out of the house, then it shows in our computer system that this guy is getting out, and he is contacted,
All right.
asked,
Very
advised,
interesting.
and
Very
warned
interesting use
not to
of
come.
technology.
Yeah.
I must say.
Every day
Uh,
it's been coming to me like that.
right.
You can have a look. The dashboard. The dashboard is sent to me early morning. Like,
Yeah.
these many people have been home quarantine. These many people have been contacted. These many people are feeling all right, etc., etc. And then jumping of the fence, geofence, is these many cases, vagara vagara. That kind of things. So
Okay. Very interesting.
yeah.
Very interesting indeed. On that note, I'll go for a short break, but don't go away. I'm in conversation with Mr. Bhaskar Jyoti Mahanta, the Director General of Police, Assam. Welcome back. I am in conversation with the DGP Assam, Mr. Bhaskar Jyoti Mahanta. Now, Mr. Mahanta, coming to the law and order front, my first question in this aspect is, how would you describe the general law and order situation in Assam at this point in time?
Well, it's not easy to say in black and white, like it's very good, it's very bad. No, it's not like that.
Yeah.
There are issues. There are issues, law and order. There are social issues. There are sense of deprivation. There are issues of perception of various kinds of different social groups, ethnic groups. So sometimes it suddenly, like, erupts. Some dissatisfaction erupts, and in some behavior of the kind that may not be legally, lawfully acceptable. And because of also the pandemic and the lockdown blues, I see a definite, impacting of minds in a manner that can give a spurt to crimes, crime against property. You can think in terms of, we did a predictive analysis, all right, and we are expecting the crime to take a shoot up at about this time, after the lockdown is eased out. So it's only natural that it's going to happen. We have asked the respective police stations all over the state to draw up a crime prevention plan, and that has been already put in place. However, I see a rise in the suicides, but then extremists also have been trying to do certain things, and noticed events out there in our neighboring states indicate a possibility of spurt of extremist-oriented actions also in Assam. So we have to be very careful. We are taking a great amount of action, all right. The pandemic duties have not deterred the Assam police from doing its core activities of policing. We have a fantastic statistics. I can show it to you if you are interested.
Right. Now, can we have some statistics? You said that you are worried about the rate of suicide is increasing. So do you have a figure, actually, how many people have committed suicide, and what are the prime trigger? Is it because of depression, because of the COVID situation? Is it because of lack of jobs, livelihood options? What is it actually?
Too early to come to a conclusion. We are still finding out the suicide. But then for example, last 10 days or so, we've been hearing almost every other day the cases of suicide. In fact, more than one per day. So it's a new phenomenon that's been noticed, and it is under study and we can't really
Right.
come to a conclusion.
Now,
However, the kind of
yeah.
this recoveries that had happened now in the in 2020, this year itself, there are only 14 number of incidents pertaining to extremists, and 5 extremists have been killed this year, and total number arrested is 104, and they haven't killed a single civilian, thankfully, which has been the order of the day in Assam for quite some time. And number of arms that have been recovered in the last 7 months is 111. Of course, last 3 days we have recovered another number of about 12 AK-47 Heckler and Colts and very high quality weapons. During last 3 days also we have recovered 2 Heckler and Colts and 1 AK-47 and whole lot of other weapons in Udalguri. So it's very interesting, quite a huge.
Yeah, but Mr. Mahanta, this is a very interesting piece of statistics that you have just said. 104 insurgents arrested in the last couple of months, and so many sophisticated weapons recovered, including the one in Udalguri, which you are talking about. Now, who are these extremists? Because most of the militant groups in Assam are engaged in talks with the government.
That's right. Well, Alpha is not. Alpha independent, so-called, number one. Number two, some of these guys called PDCK, TNLA, they are not really heard much, especially in the mainland Assam. They focus their area of operation, especially in Karbi Anglong and Dima Hasao. However, they are in cahoots with NSC and IM, and they've been propped up. I would say, and NSC and IM, especially right now, is also in pretty much doldrum after the big man, along with his cronies, have left Hebron camp and had gone to the Myanmar. And it seems some of our extremists as well are trying to, they are being wooed, by some of the NSCN characters. So we got to be careful and keeping our.
No, these 2 militant groups which you have just named, which you are saying that they are in cahoots with the NSC and IM. Now, are these new militant groups that have been formed in Assam?
No. PDCK is, you must have heard about the name Sangbizit.
Yes.
So he is.
So there are no new militant groups formed.
No, DNLA is relatively new, all right, Dimasa National Liberation Army, but I would say it's yet not a ploy of NSCN, to pig ride into Dimasa and a couple of other places. And now most of them have been neutralized. I mean, they've been caught.
Now you see.
Yeah.
Right. The July 11 incident in Longding in Arunachal Pradesh, where 6 NSCN rebels were killed. One of the rebels killed belongs to Mahur in Dima Hasao. So what does this mean? Do you mean to say that Assam also has a lot of cadres who are with the NSC and IM?
That's right. Especially in Dima Hasao, Mahur, they have a particular unit. I think it's called KTU unit, from where they have people from different tribes, including Kukis. I mean, which is kind of ironical, in the backdrop of some amount of tension between these two communities. And also the Zeliangrong groups in Assam have some amount of membership in NSC and IM. And more than the membership by itself, Hebron is a professional arms giver, training giver. They are, everybody knows, they are the ones who preside the empire of proliferation of weapons in the northeast India. And so they give professional training to some of these characters and even lend them weapons and things like that to cause havoc.
All right.
But then they have been effectively
arrested. Now, what steps are you taking to prevent a trans-border movement of militants from Nagaland, Manipur to Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, and then on to Myanmar? Any specific efforts by the Assam police to check this trans-border movement so that they cannot use Assam territory?
Yes, we are keeping ourselves on the toes. We are having continuous meetings with the Unified Command stakeholders, and the CPMFs are doing a great job. Army is doing a great job too. and we are perfectly having perfect synergy, and I'm sure together our efforts will yield results and stop
Yeah.
using Assam as a. But then they have been trying, all right, because Assam is just next
Yeah.
door, especially Golaghat, Karbi Anglong, and Upper Assam areas. Yeah.
Now, I am running short of time. My final few questions, two questions. Has recruitment in the Assam police being affected by this COVID pandemic? What are your plans as a large chunk of posts are still supposed to be vacant?
It has got delayed, all right. Because of COVID, otherwise the recruitment would have been over by now. Because of COVID, it has got delayed, and the social distancing norms that need to be followed and all that. State level police recruitment board chairperson Mr. Pradeep Kumar is there. So we have written to him and he has responded also. We have requested him to give us a blueprint, like, despite the COVID, how do we go about effecting the recruitment? He has submitted the plan. We have forwarded to the government to approve it. And
Right.
so we plan to go ahead with the recruitment, COVID or no COVID.
Abs-
Yep.
Absolutely. I think these are very stressful days for the Assam police. Multiple roles, which some of them which you never expected, isn't it? How are you coping? How do you predict the days ahead? This is my final question to you.
Well, it's been a tough call so far, but then
Yeah.
I'm sure Assam police is of consisting of tougher materials, and our guys are doing it pretty much with a smile in their faces. And I feel very great when I find that morale of the force is absolutely solid. And because our help desk teams in the police headquarters and also in the district
Yeah.
headquarters, they follow up on each of these COVID positive patients of ours.
Absolutely.
Everybody is
Absolutely.
being called twice a day, found out, like, how was they feeling and all that. Their houses are being contacted on an everyday basis, and whoever is feeling that he is little declining or he is not getting adequate support, they're being addressed
Yeah.
properly, and then this has sent a very strong message to all others that
Right.
people care and they are ready to
Yeah.
do their duty with a smile. Yes.
Absolutely. Everybody, of course, has acknowledged about frontline COVID warriors, and Assam Police is one of them. And of course, we all know that when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. And the Assam Police is quite a tough force. We all know that. Bhaskar Jyoti Mahanta, thank you very much indeed for speaking to me
Thank you.
on
Thank you
Talk
very
Time.
much.